Show me the money.
Just looking good, but I think I'm taking too long.
Back to the spot for a Glock. I took a loss over floss, but still got a knock.
Money! Oh, Jerry, does that make you feel good just to say that?
All right, showing the money, week number 13 NFL picks here. We're now past Thanksgiving into December. Joining me today, good friend of mine, Giants fan Phil Lombardo is back on the horn. Phil, how are you?
I'm doing great, Mike. Happy belated Thanksgiving.
Happy belated Thanksgiving to you, and happy Max Scherzer signing.
Yes, it's probably the most exciting free agency signing, I'd say, since Johan, in my opinion. So very, very excited to have him on board.
Yeah, I said at the top of the show, I think it's the biggest free agent culture change signing since Pedro in 2005. I think that's what I compared it to.
Yeah, I would definitely say that's comparable too. So it's just it's really good it's refreshing, having the Wilpons on board for so long. Kind of just you get jaded, but I'm just hoping that this is a sign of things to come in the future.
Yeah, I also am enjoying the fact that the Yankees are the ones who are interested in everybody. We're not actually signing anybody. I think that's hilarious.
You know what? I think that, Hal Steinbrenner has his own business sense and mentality, and he's going to do things his way. I don't necessarily think the Yankees are going to end up empty-handed by the end of the offseason, but, we'll see what happens. I think they know they have holes to fill, and I think Brian Cashman has a plan, but you never really know until things start happening. So,
yeah, for sure. Let's get to the football now, and you're a big Giant guy. The Giants last week had a very, very ugly win over the Eagles. I feel like it's more the Eagles playing terribly, your defense playing great, than anything the Giants did spectacularly. What did you think about that Giant game?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I would say there's just really not much to say about the Giants' win over Philly. It's obviously always nice to beat them, especially because the Giants have been really struggling in the last 6-7 years against them. I think it was something like the last 12. Now that they won this game, it was like the last 12 out of 15 they've lost to Philly or something like that. So it's been the same story all season though with the Giants. Their defense typically does come out to play, at least for the first half. Even against the Rams, they played them tough, and then they kind of just got tired, and then they get blown out. There's a couple of games that they just kind of got a little out of hand, but their defense has been the strength of this team all season. When it comes to the what drives them is they're very opportunistic, and obviously I think after the 3 interceptions they had on Jalen Hurts last week, it makes it now 8 straight games with an interception, and I don't know if it's a Giants record, but I think it's tied for a Giants record. So pretty impressive any way you want to swing it, which is nice to see. And I think they could definitely benefit from another pass rusher or, even 3 in the draft next year. They play tough in the red zone. They don't give up the big play. But on the other side of the ball, that's where I see the issues,
Yeah, I know. And they started to address on that last week. They fired Jason Garrett, and then Joe Judge did this weird thing where he wouldn't tell us that Freddie Kitchens calling plays. Then we all knew Freddie Kitchens was going to call the plays, and I didn't get a chance to watch that game too much because obviously the league decided in the brilliance that they put the Jets and Giants on at the same time as each other, so I was watching the Jet game. So from what you saw, was there much of a change in the play calling from Garrett to Kitchens?
Yeah, there was a very, I would say basic difference in the way he was moving things around and trying to make it a little bit easier on Daniel Jones, because one of the biggest things I think that any Giants fan that has some football knowledge can see is that there was just no pre-snap movement. They weren't, doing any shifts. They weren't putting guys in motion and being able to make it easy for Daniel Jones to identify whether it's going to be a zone or a man that he's going up against, which for any growing quarterback or young quarterback in the NFL, it's that seems like common sense to be able to make things a little bit easier on him. But you know what? Jason Garrett is an old dog, and it's hard to teach him new tricks. With Freddie Kitchens, I think it still wasn't great. The offense obviously struggled still in the red zone. This team has been the worst team in the red zone for the last 2 years. It feels like, I know at least for this year, and they were pretty bad again last week. Obviously they got that one touchdown, and that was all they needed. But you'd like to be able to see them have a little more success the rest of the season as they start to get a little more comfortable with some of the stuff that Freddie Kitchens decides to implement.
Yeah, that's one change. There might be another coming out of the season. We saw, I think, Sunday morning prior to the game, Ian Rappaport from NFL Network reported that Dave Gettleman is on his way out. It was to make all the Giant fans celebrate because they've been wanting that for at least 3 years now. But the report also said that right now they're talking about either promoting from within or bringing somebody with like a Patriot background to work with Joe Judge. And to me, that concerns me because that's more another sign that they seem to be content that like, oh, we have it right, but not being open to outside ideas or what they really should do with that team. Like, what do you think about what that report was saying?
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, I think everybody has finally hit the breaking point outside of and within the Giants organization. John Mara I was at the Eli jersey retirement and I watched the Strahan jersey retirement, and he got booed heavily during both of those when he went up to talk. And I think he's undoubtedly in fear of completely losing this fan base if he doesn't make some major changes. Garrett was the first to go, and I think, all football fans would assume they know who's next, regardless of how the season turns out. The Giants are 4-7. I can't see them, getting to the playoffs. Right now, they're kind of quote unquote in the hunt still, but still some tough games coming up, and I just don't see many scenarios where they are fighting for a playoff spot. But either way, Dave Gettleman's another prime example of an antiquated mind. He's made some decent moves like drafting Xavier McKinney, trading down and getting Kadarius Toney, trading for Leonard Williams, but overshadowed by, the pick of Saquon Barkley. It's been a complete flop. Drafting Daniel Jones, who still has not really proven himself to be worthy of that 6th pick. The signing of Nate Solder to a record contract, which still to this day just boggles my mind. On top of another, a number of other head-scratching moves. So, in my opinion, this time's run out. It's time for a fresh voice with fresh ideas and, somebody with some sort of clue on how to produce a winner in the new era of the NFL. None of this good old boy stuff like you mentioned with pulling a guy from the Patriots organization or somebody with, a Patriots background. I don't want that. I was doing a little bit of research, Louis Riddick has always been somebody who I've been a big fan of. I think that he's somebody who would bring a brand new element of progressive thinking to the Giants. Maybe even a John Dorsey from Cleveland. I thought he did a really good job, and I thought when they let him go, that was a little premature. For at least in my opinion, Lake Dawson from the Bills, or another name I was reading more about is Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah, who is from the Browns as well. And I just want to get these guys in the building and see what their vision is for the future of the Giants. Get as many brilliant front office minds in front of you and let them enlighten you a little bit, because maybe that will kind of open John Mara's eyes and the current Giants front office eyes to what they need to do to be successful in the future.
Yeah, that's a future problem. Right now, they have a more immediate problem as they play the Dolphins week. The Dolphins are hot. They won 4 in a row. And both those teams are sort of an interesting spot. They're basically like one game out of a mediocre playoff race where the Giants are a game back at the 7 spot in the NFC because Washington has it at 5 and 6. And it's a must-win game for both teams. So, what do you think the Giants need to do here to win this game?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the intrigue this matchup brings would go away if the Giants are forced to run Mike Glennon out there. Daniel Jones, I still believe, is doubtful for this matchup. He might have gotten upgraded today. I didn't see it towards the end of today. But let's say, hypothetically, Daniel Jones plays. I see a pretty evenly matched contest here. Both of these teams kind of have the same genetic makeup when it comes to having 2 strong defenses and 2 semi-limited offenses who, show flashes of being able to move the ball, but really still haven't figured it out completely. I will say I love Brian Flores. I think what he's done with the Dolphins, it has been great. I know they got off to a 1-7 start, and that was actually shocking to me. They lost a ton of close games, a couple of bad luck end of the game scenarios for them. And it happened to the Giants too. So both of these teams could easily see their records being flipped, with the Dolphins at 7-5 and the Giants at 7-4. And that's football for you. And also the thing that scares me about the Dolphins though is that 2 of them had maybe his best game as a pro last week. And then the last 4 weeks, obviously the Dolphins have looked every bit like that 10-6 team we saw last year. The Giants, as I said before, win games with defense, but if Daniel Jones ends up missing this game, you can't really see too many scenarios where the Giants pull this one out. The one thing that's weird about this game, though, Mike, is that last year the Giants went in at 4-7 into Seattle with their backup quarterback, Colt McCoy, and they ended up winning that game 17-12 or something like that, and their defense had been gaining steam right before that game, and then had their best performance of the year. I think they sacked Russell Wilson 6 times. Leonard Williams was an absolute beast. And guess what? Now you have the possibility of Mike Glennon, the backup for the Giants, at 4-7, traveling to a Dolphins team. And obviously it's hard. Like I said, there's not too many scenarios where you could see the Giants pulling it out, but they proved me wrong last year. So maybe some more Week 13 magic is in store if Mike Glennon's in the huddle. But the one thing I wanted to point out to you is there's just one matchup. I think if both teams are at the most full strength, meaning Daniel Jones starting, what I would keep an eye on is rookie Jalen Phillips versus Andrew Thomas, the left tackle. So Jalen Phillips is a defensive end rookie from Miami for the Dolphins. He's had 5 sacks in the last 4 games. He had 3 sacks last week against Carolina. And we all know how well Andrew Thomas has progressed this year. He was playing at an all-pro level before he went on the IR for the Giants. So I think at the end of the day, that's the one matchup you can really kind of focus on, because whoever wins that matchup could very well be the difference in how this game turns out.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, we saw Jalen Phillips against the Jets a couple weeks ago. He did make some noise, and he's coming on strong. So that's a key to that game, especially, as you said, if Mike Glennon's back there, Mike Glennon's not as mobile as Daniel Jones. You need all the help he can get.
Exactly. You're going to have to protect Mike Glennon because he actually has the ability to make the NFL throws, but he is a statue back there. So you got to protect him. There's no other options.
Yeah, there certainly aren't. Let's get to the picks, the reason why you're here this week. Troy Moriello was here last week. He went 2-1 on his picks. He had a pretty good week. He won with the Patriots laying 6.5 against Tennessee. They won the game running away. He had the Falcons laying the point in Jacksonville. They won that game easily. He lost the Vikings getting to 3 in San Francisco, but I think Dalvin Cook getting hurt really hurt him in that game.
Oh yeah, I mean, Dalvin Cook is somebody who is such a game changer. The Vikings they shape their entire offense around him. So whenever they lose him, it feels like they just lose their heart.
Yeah, I also went 2-1 last week. I had the Packers laying the point against the Rams. I won that one. I had the Ravens laying the 4 on Sunday. You had to watch that awful football game, but they did win that game. I lost to the Cowboys laying the 7 on Thanksgiving, and then they gave me a stinker against the Raiders and lost outright. So 2-1 on the week for me.
Yeah, 2-1 is always better than 1-2. You can't expect 3-0 every week,
Yeah, you can. I'm just so annoyed I had to sit there and watch that Raven game because that was probably one of the worst football games I've ever seen played, and I had to sit there because I had the 4 on the line in that game.
Yeah, I'm happy I didn't tune into that one.
Yeah. So on the year, Teen Challengers is 14-21-1. They've had a rough year. I haven't done much, but I'm only 19-17. I'm barely above 500. I've been hovering on that point. I can't really get much momentum because I'm hoping this is the week that something happens.
I'm going to have to help Team Challenger get that record up a little bit.
Yeah, you are. And you're up first as the guest. So where are you going with pick number 1?
Well, actually, so you said you got burned by the Raiders last week. So I'm going to go with Las Vegas. They're favored by 2.5 over Washington. Vegas is coming off an absolute statement win in Dallas on Thanksgiving. And even though they'll most likely be out without Darren Waller, I think Foster Moreau fills the void and the Raiders coast at home. They've had some extra rest after playing on Thursday, while the football team is playing on short rest after playing on Monday and getting a win over Seattle. I think the Raiders win comfortably. I have them winning 27-13.
Yeah, the rest factor is a good point in that game. That's something I hadn't considered with that one. And also, I will point out, this is one I just stay the hell away from the football team because Taylor Heineke's been hot, and Raiders are too streaky. Brave man have taken that game. I couldn't do it.
Yeah, I just saw that matchup. I think the Raiders, they're up and down, but I think they're just a better football team than Washington right now. So I have faith. I got faith. Just win, baby.
All right, just win for pick 1. Where are you going with pick number 2?
All right, so I'll take the team that Washington beat last week, and that's Seattle. So I know Seattle has really, really been struggling this year, but they're getting 3.5 at home against San Francisco. San Francisco is, they have a slew of injuries right now, and it's reported now that Deebo Samuel and possibly rookie standout Elijah Mitchell will be missing the game. So we all know how these rivalry matchups go, these in-division matchups. They're tough, they're gritty, they're very, very chippy, especially between Seattle and San Francisco. So I like Seattle to eke this one out, not only to cover the spread, but to win the game outright 23-20.
You would have some fun on the money line if you played that one with the outright number there.
Yeah, for sure. I was actually thinking about making that bet myself.
All right, so that's pick number 2. We're going to pick number 3.
All right, so quite possibly the most intriguing game of the year, and you're going to expect me not to pick this. I mean, this has the makings of an instant classic. Buffalo -2.5 over New England. New England's the hottest team in football, and I don't think anybody saw this coming, obviously, with them, having a rookie quarterback and making a lot of, having a lot of turnover on this team. But how could we ever doubt the guru Bill Belichick? But I got faith in Buffalo. I know that they've been very streaky too this year. And even with Tre'Davious White out, I think the opposite of what most people will think is going to happen. I think the team rallies around each other, especially on defense. I think you see Micah Hyde pick off Mac Jones. I think you see Mac Jones have a game where he really struggles here. He's a rookie. He's due for a stinker. He's been playing really well, and all the credit to him. But I just really like the Bills at home with the Buffalo fans going wild, jumping through tables on a Monday night. That atmosphere is going to be absolutely bonkers. And I think we're going to just see one of those performances that we saw from Buffalo early in the season. I like Buffalo at home to reclaim first place in the division. I have them winning 31-26 in a game that I think will certainly live up to the hype.
I hope you're right, because I'm really sick of New England having just one down year for the right back and being good again. I would want that their fans have to suffer a little bit, because we've been through enough.
Exactly, and I think I'm picking a little bit with the heart here, but I'm taking the people's pick. Everybody wants Buffalo, so let's go Buffalo.
Well, you are a man of the people, sir.
I have been known to be that.
All right, I'm up now. Pick number 1. I'm going to go to lay the big wood here. I'm going to lay the 9.5 with the Colts against the Texans down in Houston. I watched that team last week, Houston, against my guys, and they were awful. They were 14-3, couldn't do a thing against a very lousy Jet defense second half. They were dominated here. Colts coming off a loss, a game they have to win. Jonathan Taylor's going to run that ball down their throats. And Jonathan's going for $150, 3 touchdowns. Colts blew them out earlier. Colts are going to do it again. I think the Colts are going to win this game huge. So I'm going to lay the big wood with Indy, pick 1.
Yeah, I was actually flirting with taking Houston -9.5 because they are plus 9.5 at home, but they just are. They're terrible. So I think if you're going to take anybody, you got to go Colts there.
All right, pick number 2. I'm going heads up with you on that Seahawks game. I'm going to lay the 3.5 with the Niners, and the Niners did burn me once this year. I picked against them. I think this is more of an anti-Seattle pick because Seattle is not the same team. Russell Wilson has not been the same since he came back from the finger injury. They have had issues on defense all year. Jamal Adams does not like to tackle anybody. He likes to hit, and the Niners take advantage of this. Even without Deebo Samuel, they have enough weapons on offense. Their defense will take advantage of a very suspect Seattle line. 3.5 is not a big number. I know I'm risking the hook there. This game could be a 3-point game, but I think the Niners will find a way to win this game. I'll take it. Go heads up with you. Take the Niners here, laying 3.5, pick 2.
Maybe we'll have to make a little side bet after the call.
Yeah, we'll do that after the call. And pick number 3. I'm going to take a game that's interesting and all under the radar in the 1 o'clock window. I'm going to take the Bengals laying the 3 at home against the Chargers. And the Chargers will be a very weird team this year. They have these ups and downs. They look great one week. They look awful the next week. They're flying east, early window against the Bengals. And the Bengals are coming off a very big win over the Steelers. Now they come home laying just the field goal. I think their defense will come to play here. I think they'll take advantage of the LA defense. I think the Bengals make a statement here and pick up a big victory. I'm only laying 3. I think I'm going to win by a touchdown. I'm going to take the Bengals laying the 3 at home for the final pick of the week.
Yeah, I'm just really impressed with Joe Burrow and the Bengals offense. I mean, Jamar Chase has obviously exceeded everybody's expectations. And like you said, the Chargers are a little bit suspect. I do like Justin Herbert. I like what they've been able to do over there with Brandon Staley, the way he's changed the culture a little bit, pulling out some of these closer games. But, I believe in the Bengals. I think that's a good pick for you.
All right, so to reset the picks for the week, Phil is going with the Raiders laying 2.5 at home against the Washington football team. The Seahawks getting 3.5 at home against the 49ers. The Bills laying 2.5 on Monday night against the New England Patriots. I'm going with the Colts laying the 9.5 in Houston against the Texans. I'm going heads up with Phil laying the 3.5 with the 49ers in Seattle. And the Bengals -3 at home against the LA Chargers. Those are your picks for week 13. Coming up next week, we're going back to the Jet fan well here. We're talking to Martino Pucci. We're going to break down the Jet Eagle game next week, and We'll see if Zach Wilson actually improves a little bit because he's scaring me, dude.
Yeah, you know what, man? I don't think you can go too crazy about it. I try to bring up Eli Manning. His rookie season, he was absolutely awful, man. And I'm not saying that, he was like, one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, but he was an absolute menace when he got in the groove. And you just got to give the kid some time to develop. He had a little bit of an injury. I think, the rest of the season is kind of gonna be a really good test for him. Just so he can kind of just get his feet back underneath him.
Yeah, I think it worries me two things with him. Is number one, the decision-making is very suspect at times, like that awful pick he threw last week when he was trying to throw a forward shovel at Ty Johnson, wasn't even looking at the pass. And the fact he's missing on some of these simple throws where it's like, where he's airmailing short passes to running backs, he's skipping balls at the feet of receivers, running drags, like that stuff worries me.
Yeah, I mean, with that kind of stuff, Mike, it's in his head.
Yeah.
That's all mental stuff. He has the tools to get it done. So as long as he just kind of calms down and allows the game to come to him, I think everything will start to come together.
For sure. Phil, thanks for all the time. I really appreciate it. Before I let you go, I know you're a big Notre Dame football guy. Brian Kelly left you. And contrary to what most people are going crazy on social media streets, I believe you said you are not as upset with him for leaving.
No, I mean, honestly, so I'm a Notre Dame realist. I don't think many things change. When we get a big name coach in here and he gets the opportunity to go to an SEC powerhouse like LSU, how can you blame the guy for leaving? I know that the way he left was a little abrupt and he probably could have gave his team more than 7 minutes. I think that was a little cold. And I'm not there to see it. So I'm not going to really, go crazy over that, but I can't complain about him leaving. The Notre Dame, they don't play in a Power 5 conference, so they're never going to be able to get those schedules and be able to get the opponents that are going to give them the ability to coast into the playoffs. They're going to have other teams lose to play them in until they make some, major changes to the way they schedule games, or they join a conference. I can't blame the guy. I actually wish him well. I think he's a great coach. And I also am excited because I really think if they end up hiring the defensive coordinator, Marcus Freeman, I think he's going to be a fantastic Notre Dame representative. And I think the team isn't going to miss a beat with him.
Yeah, for sure. I have my own thoughts on the Brian Kelly situation. I'll share in the 2-minute drill right after this.